The section we're going to be reading today is Army Camp Life. It's on page 38 and 39 in your text. Before we get started, we usually do a quick write, but this is the prompt from the previous day when you were reading about great generals and commanders, so we're going to skip that part. And today, as you're reading the text and listening to the text, we're going to be thinking about what's the main idea of the text. And we know we find that by asking a how or why question, and we'll get to that on the next page. But before we start reading, we want to think about our vocabulary words. So our first word is portable. That's something you can easily carry in your hand. The second word is tent. That's a portable shelter made of cloth. You can put it up by poles. So it's like a portable house. And then the third one is artillery. It's large guns used in war. Go ahead and draw a line that matches from the word to the picture that matches. Next, we're going to get started reading. First, we're in box 1. Let's ask our how or why question about Army camp life. And so I'm thinking, how we wouldn't really say why was Army camp life, why did they live in camps. We know that the Civil War is going on and they need to be together in case they, need to go into battle. They all need to be together. So instead, let's focus on describing Army camp life. And so our question would be, how was camp life in the Army? So go ahead and write that down. How was camp life in the Army? And we're going to look for evidence that describes life in the Army camp. You can press pause if you're still writing down your question, and then play when you're ready to get started. At the top, soldiers spent almost all their time outdoors. On campaigns, most men slept on the ground, wrapped in blankets. In the cities, troops often lived in simple wood buildings called barracks. But when assigned to large camps, the troops slept in tents that held up to 8 men. Their meals were cooked on portable ovens in large tent kitchens. Soldiers spent their days practicing drills, repairing equipment, and doing chores. In their free time, they wrote letters, read, gambled, or enjoyed concerts put on by their unit's marching bands. So I want you to go back and underline evidence. What was life like at the Army camp? And when you're thinking about your main idea, I want you to think about the overall attitude of life in the Army camp. Is there a sense of urgency? Is there a sense of relaxation? Are the soldiers nervous? Are they bored? Are they busy? When you're thinking about these things, in your main idea, try to draw a conclusion about what life is like at the Army camp. You can press pause to write your main idea and then play when you're ready for box 2. In box 2, we're going to go to the top of page 39. We want to collect some more evidence about the soldiers' camp life. So we're going to look at these pictures and captions that have the stars beside them. First one is winter's cold. The text says, a Confederate soldier painted this scene of his winter quarters. Quarters is another word for home. In winter, troops built crude wood cabins to stave off the cold. So if they built crude wood cabins, that means these are just makeshift cabins. They're not supposed to be used for a long period of time. They're temporary. And that's because they needed shelter from the cold. Go ahead and answer 2A. After analyzing the picture, describe the place where soldiers lived during the winter months. And so you could talk about how the cabins weren't built to last. They were crude, and they had them because it was very cold outside. And so the cabins must have been warmer than the tents. You can press pause if you're still writing, and then play to continue. Let's go to 2B. How does this information support your main idea? Well, if you talked about the overall attitude, you might have talked in your main idea about how they lived in portable housing. And so the fact that they lived in portable housing or temporary housing in the winter and in the Army camp life supports our main idea. So you can press pause to write down how this detail supports your main idea, and then play when you're ready for box 3. In box 3, we're back on page 38. We're looking at this picture and caption outside the barracks. In 1861, this 1861 photograph shows Union troops at their barracks. Signs on the wall indicate the men belong to their regiment's Company 1. The soldiers in front are playing cards with the company drummer. 3A, how does this picture suggest what you already know about soldiers in the Army? So I want you to look at what they're wearing. I want you to look at the props that they're holding. How does this picture support what you already know about soldiers in the Army? Well, I know soldiers in the Army wear uniforms, and soldiers in the Army carry weapons. And this picture has both of those things. So you can write down your answer for 3A. You can press pause while you write down and then play when you're ready for 3B. It says, what aspects of the picture are surprising or unexpected to you? So now we need to look at the parts of the picture that we didn't think happened in the Army. So I want to draw your attention to the men playing cards with the drummer at the front, and that's on page 39 up here. One thing that surprised me about Army life is that they had all this downtime and they had enough time to play cards or games. So that lets me know that they weren't constantly fighting, but that there was a lot of time in between the battles. You can rewind and re-listen to my thoughts. You can press pause so that you can write down your answer for 3B, and then press play when you're ready for 4A. For 4A, we're at the bottom of page 38 where it says playing cards. Card playing was popular in the camps, but many soldiers would throw away their cards before going into battle. If they were killed, they did not want their relatives to know they had been gambling. Let's go to 4A. Why did the soldiers play cards at the Army camp? Well, we know it was popular, so we need to think, why is playing cards popular? Probably because it's a lot of fun. If you're gambling, you could earn money while you were playing cards, if you are a good card player. You can press pause and write down your answer, and then press play when you're ready. 4B, what does this information reveal about the pace of war? So when we talk about pace, we want to know, is it fast? Are they constantly fighting? Are their battles close together? Or are the battles kind of spread out? Maybe they're only fighting in a battle every couple months. So what are they doing in between all that time? That would be considered, the pace of the war was slow because they weren't fighting every day. Their battles were spread out over several months. You can press pause to finish writing down your answer and then play when you're ready to synthesize your thinking. We want to write a really good paragraph about how was Army camp life for a soldier. I want to challenge you to, yes, include your main idea, but I want you to include as many pieces of evidence as possible. So don't just say one thing about Army camp life. Try to say 3 things that you learned about what life was like for a soldier living in an Army camp. You have 7 minutes, so you have plenty of time to write your paragraph. Get started.